Mike, turn your games down.
Another year in gaming episode 1994. I'm Mike Albertin, and who's drinking Pepsi in their mother's basement with me tonight?
Drinking Pepsi in your mother's basement is Vincent Goodwin from Some of My Friends Read Comics.
I'm Daniel Mellman. I'm drinking... Oh boy, this is going poorly. Hi, I like Pepsi. I started playing video games in 1994.
Welcome, Dan.
Hey, I'm Kyle Gorman from the RPG show, back again, and I'm more of a Coke guy, honestly.
I'm actually drinking beer, but hey, it fit the 1994 theme.
And I am Kyle F., also known as Chibi or Chibi UFO in certain spots on the internet. And I am drinking probably a root beer or a Pepsi or a Coke, since I'd be what age I'd be in 1994. And I'm also probably eating a crap ton of Planters cheese balls because, my God, I love those damn things.
Those are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Were those the ones that
good.
came in like the giant tubs?
Yeah, like the Planters little paper things.
Cylinders.
I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm such a fucking
No, you're
idiot.
fine. It's just funny. Like, hey, what the fuck about snacks from the 90s
I
instead?
can't even call a cylinder. I'm like a cup thing. Like, oh my God.
I remember eating them. I don't remember Planters. I remember, like, I know cheese balls. I don't buy them often. They come in a big jug, and I can never eat them all.
Oh yeah, they usually do. I know. What's that brand? Utz also does cheese balls as well.
That's what I always see. So, as we do every so often, we are going to talk about games that came out in 1994. And this was not my idea to do this episode. This is all Vincent's idea, because he had brought it up to me, 8 months ago, Vince, I think it was.
Yeah, that's because 1994 is the best year in gaming ever. 1998 may have a claim, 2017 might have a claim, but 1994, 100% is the best year in gaming, and it's not just nostalgia, because Daniel, it's also my first year of gaming, and it was a really great year to start. What a year to come.
I cannot disagree with that at all. I think I'm probably going to be in the same boat, too, of, 1994, May 93 or 94, either of those 2 years of the early 90s, 94 might be possibly one of the greatest years of gaming in history, or ever. There's so much stuff happened in 1994 in video games.
And Vince, since this is your idea, why don't you start us off with the first game we're going to talk about?
I'm going to do something kind of dumb here. I'm only going to talk about 12 games. I'm talking about the cover games from Nintendo Power 1994, because they're all bangers. And we're starting with January 1994. We're starting with Mega Man X. Mega Man X. What a way to start a year. It's a great evolution of the Mega Man formula. You go from Mega Man 1, 2, 3, X, and you're like, dang, this series is amazing. X is just I like X more than I like classic Mega Man. I know y'all like Mega Man 7, I believe. But I love just how X is mobile. I like his upgradable armor that's visible. You go back into levels to get things. It's just a great game. It's probably, I think I decided it's my second favorite 2D platformer after Shovel Knight. So there we go.
It's a start of a whole new franchise. And man, Capcom just kicked so much ass with the Mega Man X. I believe the first 4 Mega Man X games are all fantastic, especially X2 being my personal favorite. But Mega Man X1, just goddamn, what an absolute classic! Just the music's amazing, the graphics are excellent, especially for the time on Super Nintendo, and the gameplay is a total blast. And it's just oh man, Capcom at their best, at their absolute best.
And everything was just given a little extra bit of complexity to it, how the stages change depending the order you go. I guess 6 started with more of the permanent upgrades, but X really took it to the next level and gave you new movement abilities. You could charge your weapons. Fantastic game. My only issue is that you don't start with the legs. That's my only issue with that game.
Yeah.
And that's only an issue because the legs feel so good.
Oh yeah.
They're so quick. Depending on what order you go.
I'm so happy that they have so many really great passwords for the game too, or you can put a password in to start with legs, or you can put a password in to start with all the health upgrade, health boosters, and or all energy canteens. You can get all sorts of cool stuff with the passwords.
And I played this
I didn't either.
many times.
Same.
Yeah, the passwords are, there's, it's not just level stuff and passwords. There's all sorts of really cool, custom-made passwords, made by the developers. You could just look them up on the internet. I'm sure you could find them in the magazines back in the day. Well, not directly in 94, but, later in, late 94, 95. But, yeah, the magazines, the internet, game facts, anywhere. Like, yeah, there's all sorts of really awesome passwords.
Yeah, I'm looking at a list now. You can really customize that experience. That's neat.
That is cool. Hey, you taught me something new I did not know. So, okay. KG, what is a game that you want to mention?
Oh boy, there are so many. I'm knowing me as the RPG guy. I'm going to start with Earthbound.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Earthbound was probably my favorite game in 94. I mean, I can remember going to Best Buy and they just gave you the strategy guide with the game. That was like the coolest thing I could think of as an 8-year-old kid. Like, hands down, I would read that strategy guide like every night before going to bed. And I never even got to Paula because I just couldn't, like, the game was too cool for me to want to go that far.
There's never a full version of
Everything.
It always came in that big box with the strategy guide. Like, that's how Earthbound came out over here. It's so good.
Exactly. But yeah, the music, the interactions with people. I mean, a lot of people will say that games have gotten close this day. I think Undertale especially is in line with Earthbound. But for so long, Earthbound was the only Earthbound-like game out there.
Except for the others.
I have to make my choking comments for you saying some blasphemous things about games that I don't like.
Come on, Mike. Let's not piss off all of the internet, okay?
Oh, it's fine. You can go listen to my Undertale episode and hear me what I have to say. I'm not a fan of Earthbound either.
If you get mad and come at this, I'm just gonna say you're the one that did it. So, like, I hope you're okay with that.
Oh, I don't care.
That game is filled with so many neat moments and little jokes and little like twists on the Dragon Quest formula. Just the way, the world map works and how everything is contiguous. I know the first game did that too, but this one does it way better. The like rolling HP counter where there are certain enemies, it's like, okay, this one will kill me, will do a ton of damage and kill me if I knock it out. So I have to do it last because the health like takes a while to tick down. Like you go through a hole and you end up in a weird like Chrono Trigger-y world map where you have these tiny sprites walking around and there are dinosaurs everywhere.
You literally have to wait for exactly 3 minutes without moving to get past a door in the game. I mean, that was pretty cool back then, honestly.
I didn't play this back then. I played it.
You could order pizza. Like, one of the most 90s things of all the 90s to do. Like, probably as a kid, you were like, oh yeah, I want to order pizza. Like, you could order pizza in the game, and you had to wait a little bit, and then the pizza delivery guy would come, and you'd get your pizza. You could get a large pizza, a medium pizza, and a small pizza.
The in-game teleport, you have to build up speed, like Back to the Future style. And if you run into a wall, you just, like, explode.
I didn't realize until about 10 years ago that you can actually control your movement during the teleporting. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a straight line.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I didn't figure it out until you get Teleport 2, which moves you in a circle. And I was like, wait, can I just do that? And you totally can. You could, and I had a cheaper teleport. I could just make it work. You get a bicycle that you can ride around to move around quickly, but probably like a half hour before you get your second party member where no one else can fit on your bike because it's a bike. There are so many of just the best jokes packed into every town, every dungeon. It is so dense with good shit. I adore that game.
Maybe my opinion will change when I play it later this year.
I hope so.
My opinion was not good when I played it on my
Not
retro
only
play.
did Ness, but also Lucas made it to Smash based on this game.
Yes.
Well, Lucas is Mother 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nobody, still not released in the U.S., but he's a Smash character.
You can play it in the US just fine.
And it's on Switch now in Japanese.
Is it?
It's on my Steam Deck.
It just came out, yeah.
Nice. Oh.
Yeah, Earthbound rules.
I stand corrected then. It is now available in the U.S.
Just not exactly. Not the sequel, no. They'll never officially release it as they showed.
I don't think they can, just because of licensing stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some
the music
stupid...
has some pretty wild plagiarism going on by U.S. copyright standards. I wouldn't play it if you know how. It's also really good.
I never have yet, actually, because one day I'll probably make myself. I mean, especially if our Earthbound episode is good when I record that later this year. We'll see. And Kyle, what is the game you want to mention?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Well, oh my god, to start things off. Before I do, just a heads up though, with Earthbound technically came out in 95. Mother 2 came out in 94. But like, it still counts, but just a heads up. Yeah.
And Mega Man X came out in 93 in Japan, but 94.
Yeah. we were talking about 94, so just just a technical thing.
Yeah, we're all nerds here, and it's any SKU that was released.
True.
Is how I defined it.
That is very true. God damn it! Actually, I was gonna pick Earthbound myself. Earthbound is literally my favorite video game of all time. Like flat out, like favorite video game ever made. Like Earthbound. I love Earthbound a whole bunch, so I won't put it on my list because I don't want to be redundant or anything like that or cheat or But Earthbound's amazing. I love that game so much. Yeah, he's like favorite video game of all time. What a damn masterpiece! I love it. But to do my own, start things off, I'm gonna go. Because I am such a fighting game nerd, I do love me the fighting games, doesn't matter which one. Maybe some of the early Mortal Kombats I'm not too fond of. Like, Mortal Kombat's okay as a series, but it takes itself a little too seriously at times, and the controls kind of suck. But I'm sorry, fucking whole other, that's for another thing. But to start things off, this was, I know for a lot of people voted as possibly the greatest fighting game ever created, especially in Japan. Mm-hmm. A lot of Japanese gamers voted this, but Virtua Fighter 2 for the arcade, released and developed by Sega. I love the Virtua Fighters. Virtua, excuse me, I'm going to make sure I'm not putting an L in it, fuck. But yeah, Virtua Fighter 2. Damn great game. My only thing with it, though, is it's an earlier game that all the other, like, Virtua Fighter sequels were even better. Like each one bettered themselves so much that, like, it's almost a little hard to go back to the earlier ones, but they still have so much charm in them. And, like, the fighting style and the games are fantastic, and the characters are great, and they're so well programmed, and it's fun to play as, like, your specific character, and the moves are you get to really learn mastering the moves. Virtua Fighter is such a brilliant fucking series, and I want it to come back. Sega, holy shit! Like, what the fuck are you doing, Sega? Please do something. Like,
I think it's this year or next. I think it's inevitable. Like, there's so many rumors. They're like, we're bringing back 3 more big franchises.
Yeah.
The Yakuza kids working on it.
Yeah, like, Sega, what the fuck are you waiting for? Jesus fucking Christ! You have so many amazing things, and you're just like, ooh, I wonder what we could do. Like, make more fucking games. Make more of your franchises, Sega. Jesus, I thought Nintendo was bad with this shit. Like, Sega, oh my god. But yeah, please, another Virtua Fighter. I want another Virtua Fighter. I love the series so much. And yeah, Virtua Fighter 2. That's going to be my number 1, I guess, or number 5, or I don't know what number we're starting off with.
Well, not really numbers. It's just the game that we talk about.
Yeah, just my first big important game of 1994. Virtua Fighter 2. Just a fantastic fighting game. Sega at their absolute greatest. Just such a fantastic fighting game, and I hope new fighting game fans go back and play these games. I hope they understand. I hope they do the homework. I hope they study this and just understand what great fighting games are. And like, this is what started a lot of different things. I feel like 3D fighting games are at such a loss right now, and it's such a shame because there's so many great 3D fighting games. I know Tekken 8 just came out, and that's been a smash hit, and I'm happy with that because I love Tekken 8. But like, I hope there's another DOA, Dead or Alive, because Dead or Alive 5 was so fantastic as well, and I know 6 kind of didn't do so hot. But yeah, I hope we have a return of 3D fighters, because there's so many good ones that are just kind of dead in the water, and it really depresses me. Sega, please, I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart, please bring out another goddamn Virtua Fighter. Have net play. Just fuck's sakes, Sega, please, I beg of you, please. Okay, that's my turn. I'm sorry.
I think it's going to be this year or the next. Virtua Fighter 2 is fantastic. I've mostly played it in those Yakuza games. Like, Yakuza 5, you could just walk into an arcade and play it.
Like, I already love the Yakuza games. I love me some beat-em-ups. I love me some classic Dragon Questy RPGs, and man, you give me that, and then you give me old arcade games. Like, fuck, marry me, please. I want to marry this video game. That's all.
The characters and their movements were like so. There were so many options that they had trouble porting this to Saturn, even though it basically ran on a Sega Saturn. Because of the logic, they like couldn't fit all the moves from this game in there.
Interesting. Pretty much arcade perfect, so that's saying something. Like,
they pulled it off for sure.
Yeah,
and like you said, the only reason I don't think about Virtua Fighter 2 more is that I think it's kind of the least. It's like the one I would go back to the least because the first one has a cool look and it's the first, and then
the sequels are all
about it.
fantastic. Yeah. Actually, by the way, speaking of the Sega Saturn, another great thing about 1994 was the birth and release of not only the Sega Saturn but the Sony PlayStation. So 2 iconic game consoles got their birth in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
The N64 console design was also released in 94. Yeah,
it was a
big year.
Was
Super
starting
Game
to
Boy as well.
Yeah, lots of fantastic peripherals and consoles. So one of the other reasons why 1994 is a just incredible, fantastic year for video games. Sorry, that's my turn. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you.
Dan, what is the game you want to mention?
Let's see. Let's go with Donkey Kong for the Game Boy.
Donkey Kong 94? What? June 1994 from Nintendo Power.
I've never played it.
Was that a cover game?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's weird.
It's great. It's great. It's a top 5 game for me all time. It's so good. But I'll let you say your speech.
I love this game. I played it as a kid, but I went back to it a few years back, and I'm just like, oh, this is one of the best games I've ever played. So it kind of pretends to be an arcade port of Donkey Kong, and I wonder if that hurt its sales. Like the first 4 levels are literally the first 4. It's like the arcade game of Donkey Kong. And after that, you walk out into this big city or chase Donkey Kong into this big city. And there's like dozens of more levels with this very puzzly focus to them.
Mm-hmm.
But the puzzles are interesting because you have this really odd and expressive moveset. Like Mario doesn't control like he does in the other Mario games. They kind of take Donkey Kong as the basis there, but give you a ton of other abilities. They give you like the slide jump, side flip, which actually appeared here before Super Mario 64. You could do handstands and like backflips. You could grab onto power wires and flip around them and fling yourself into the air, which you can later do in Sunshine. And the levels are fantastic. There are so many cool secrets and sequence breaks to them. It's just quietly one of the coolest games on the Game Boy, and one of the coolest Mario games ever.
I've never played it. I've heard people talk about it. I did not realize that it had all these different worlds and levels.
Yeah, it's 96 levels. It's a single screen platformer, or relatively single screen. It has a little bit of scrolling, which, I like, just small bite-sized screens. And then it's like the perfect Nintendo like philosophy distillation of like, we introduce a concept and then we iterate and iterate and iterate on it with like a new challenge and a new wrinkle. Yep. So it's logical conclusion. And it's just like so simple and perfect. Like if they made a Donkey Kong Maker with this tile set, like that would be like chef's kiss. And then like Mario versus Donkey Kong just came out, and it's a sort of sequel to Donkey Kong 94, and honestly not as good. Yeah, a remake of it, of the Game Boy Advance one. And it's pretty good. I 100%ed it in a weekend, but it's not as good as Donkey Kong 94. Donkey Kong 94 is just like full of life. It's just like a perfect game.
Yeah, now I have looked up stuff, and I'm like, I think I've tried it once. I'm like, it's just the first couple levels. I didn't realize how much more there is to this game.
Oh, it's once you get to the big city in the second world, then it just like opens up, and it's not on NSO though, weirdly.
That's fine.
But
I'll be on my
you can acquire it, sail the friendly seas, acquire it.
It's on. Well, I guess you can't buy it on the 3DS store either. No.
Yeah.
Not unless you got my machine.
Yeah, just speaking of Mario versus Donkey Kong, because I've been playing that remake too. It's good. It's a lot better than the Game Boy Advance version even. But there's so much less variety. There's so much less creativity, and there's so much less kind of chaos to it. Like a lot of Donkey Kong 94 levels are just weird. It's like, oh, this is a neat thing we can do with these mechanics. This is a weird puzzle that can move these mechanics in these strange directions. Like I stayed enthralled with that game throughout.
Great soundtrack. Like this game is such a 10 out of 10 for me. Like this is like a perfect game, and like my God, Nintendo. Like, and this is why I'm such a defender of the Game Boy. And like when people just think, oh, Game Boy was just Pokemon and Mario Land. Like, no, fuck you. Game Boy had amazing games and had a ton of great games. And it wasn't just the console for watered down ports. Fuck you, angry video game nerd. And it's not just.
I did have a lot of those.
No, I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, fuck that. It pisses me off because it's an angry video game nerd. Then all of his fucking idiot troglodyte fans are going to take it as truth because they're fucking idiots. Yeah. Like, that's what happens when internet people do this type of stuff. Like, they're going to say shit, and then all their idiot fans are going to be like, oh, I guess it's true. Like, no, fuck that. Like, the Game Boy was such a great console, and it had, like, hundreds of awesome original, just kick-ass games. Like, and Donkey Kong is one of them. Donkey Kong 94, yeah, 10 out of 10. Just 10 out of 10.
So I want to mention a game that, well, I'm going to mention this in honor of Blake, who was going to be on here, but he couldn't make it. Final Fantasy VI came out in 94.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to
One of my
favorite
games of all time. Like, I love this game. I actually still have the cartridge of Final Fantasy 3 to the left of me. I've kept one of the few carts that I just kept. I mean, I played it.
At mine too.
I have that, Chrono Trigger, and FF2 all next to each other, and I don't know if I have any other carts left anymore. I think I do, but I don't know. But no, I love that game. Final Fantasy VI is so good, especially the GBA version, which is not this year. But it's just such a great game, such a classic, and I don't think there's any more I need to say about it. But
Final Fantasy VI, not a cover game for Nintendo.
I didn't. That's because Nintendo didn't want to.
It doesn't shock me. I mean, RPGs were not very popular in the US.
Yeah, it's an October 94 release. You'll be shocked when you get to the October 94 cover of Nintendo Power.
Okay.
We'll get there later.
And Vincent, what about you? What's the next game?
Okay, we're going to skip February. Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Are we not going to talk more about Final Fantasy VI?
Oh, no, we can. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we should.
You're right. We should.
I mean, I play it through on the GBA version for the first time last year. Parts of it are kind of a slog, but like it's so ambitious, and it's where you get being able to sort of level up the abilities you use magic with. Like Final Fantasy VII, I think builds very directly on this. But you have so many characters, and they all have their own weird little abilities, and most of them don't work, which is also kind of fun. Like a lot of the stuff in this game just doesn't do anything.
Oh,
due to programming issues.
I got a dumb joke. When I was a kid, my dad used to make jokes to me about it. He's like, oh, because this is before we knew. He's like, oh, they're going to be a Final Fantasy 12, 15 someday. I'm like, no, they're not. Shut up. Little did I know.
Final Fantasy 12 and 15, both very cool games.
But he used to make that joke to me, and I'm just like, it's not. There's only 3 of them. It's not.
What's the one in Deus Ex 3? They have like Final Fantasy 27 or something on a poster.
Never played Deus Ex that far, unfortunately.
It's not a great game. I like that. Yeah, Final Fantasy 6, really cool game. It has the final dungeon where you like have a party of 12 out of these this ridiculous amount of characters of people you've just picked up around the world, which becomes wide open in the second half of the game.
It was such a deep game, and like it's funny because I agree too. I think it gets a little long tooth at the end, especially the world of Ruin. But I've probably beat the world of Balance 12 to 15 times in my life. Honestly, the first half of that game is just perfect. It really is. There's so many good things in it. Can we at least for 2 seconds just laugh the fact that you can suplex a train?
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
Who hasn't done that? Really? You have to.
Yes.
You do.
That just those scenarios of like, yes, you suplex a train and the train has like a demonic voice that talks to you, but like you go in that train and there's this whole village who is just poisoned by the military, and you can get ghosts temporarily in your party to possess and instant kill enemies. Like, it's so eerie and so cool.
One of my favorites of all time. Easy.
Absolutely. Amazing music. Heck, you could even play it co-op.
I did that the first time I beat it.
It's terrible, but you can do it.
Me and my friend did it. I had certain characters I would control that I just liked.
Sabin every time.
That's what my friend was. I was Locke and Edgar.
Sabin was always in my party.
Same. I've also always used Locke because Locke was the character I identified with as a kid. My favorite character of all time. One of them.
I just had to know what I could steal from everyone. That's why I always had Locke.
I didn't steal. I just like Locke.
He's cool.
I didn't say. I'll say I don't play games logically always.
I mean, stealing isn't worth the amount of time. It's just fun to see what you get.
You get some really good shit. So
cool game.
And Vince.
Okay, so continuing on my Nintendo Power thing. February 1994 was Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage. It's fine. It's a Sunsoft platformer. Who cares? But March.
Way better from that company.
Platformer.
Yeah.
It's fine. But the real star of the show, another Game Boy game I was saving to fire, Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo!
March 1994. It's so good. I didn't even know this game existed till my friends brought it home for spring break, like a daycare, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a Wario game." And I'm like, "What the fuck? He's a bad guy though. He's got his own game. This is amazing." And it's just like one, I like that has like that Donkey Kong Jr. novelty where like Mario's kind of a bad guy although he's not in the game. But like, it's such a perfect Game Boy game because it's slow, which Game Boy games need, quite frankly, a lot of the time. Wario's got a really good move set. It's got like changeable levels, just like Mega Man X, where you can like flood a level or like break the tide. So then the level is like all the water's gone and then it's dry. It's so cool. It's such a cool platformer. It's not like the Wario Land 2 where he's indestructible. So it's just a solid 2D platformer with like a fuck ton of levels for Game Boy, playing it all summer. Such a good game. Wario Land.
I want to say real quick, Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage. I played that game. I rented it when I was a kid. Yeah, and I hated it because I couldn't get through some of the levels.
I couldn't get past the bullfighter, so that's where I stopped.
Me too. I forgot the game existed until you just said it, and I went and looked it up, and I'm like, I remember this game. That's all.
Not only is it like not that good for a Sunsoft platformer, but there are better like Sunsoft platformer Looney Tunes games, like Looney Tunes for the original Game Boy. That's a good Sunsoft Looney Tunes platformer.
No, this game was hard as fuck. I remember that.
It's a 2D platformer for the Super Nintendo. What do you expect?
I actually haven't played that one. I love Sunsoft.
Sunsoft Super Nintendo is a little dicey.
Yeah, a lot of them are just really mid, and it's not even like, it's their licensed games that are mid. Like, you can kind of get away with Way Forward. No, some of their licensed games are fantastic. Like Batman, incredible. One of the best games on the NES.
Pirates of Darkwater by Sunsoft for Super Nintendo. That's a really, really good licensed game.
They made a Pirates of Darkwater game?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a Final Fight. It's a Final Fight style beat 'em up, and it's great. It's super good.
Awesome.
I've also never played the Wario game for some reason. I need to. I just never got around to it yet. It's on my list.
It's really good, and I really appreciate that they took the opportunity to make this weird subversion of how Mario plays, the way Wario's kind of this weird subversion of Mario's design. Like, it's so much more focused on finding secrets and getting money. Like, there are a bunch of different endings depending on how much money you get, how many of the treasures you find. There's no overlap with Mario's powers. Mm-hmm. They're very different.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot more of the second one now, the Virtual Boy one, which is kind of a direct sequel to one. So I don't remember the moveset off the top of my head. But
yeah, it's all power-ups. So you have like the dragon head that shoots fire. You have the bullhorn that sticks you in the head and in the ceiling. And then you kind of have you have a jetpack that shoots you across, which is, and I think it even uses a carrot, which is kind of like the rabbit ears from Mario Land 2. So
okay, so it's the same ones they have in the Virtual Boy one.
Yeah. Oh, the Virtual Boy one. Yeah, exactly. Yes, 100%.
All right, and Mr. KG.
All right, another game I'm gonna pick and go in a different direction here. I'm gonna pick NBA Jam.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yes. Even if you have not played NBA Jam, you have said he's on fire at some point in your life or heard it in some way, shape, or form. Like, there's no way you can escape what this game was. It's so much fun. 2v2 basketball back in '94. Like, this is probably one of my top 10 sports games. I still play this, honestly, even with the crappy catch-up mode that the AI has, and it's almost impossible. Like, this game is just fun. I remember going to the arcade as a kid and just playing this for as long as you could. We had one of those arcades where if you won, they would let you keep playing for free. Just super cool that the arcade box just had a switch for that inside of it. Like,
that is cool.
One of the dip switches.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like, such a great art game.
There are also dip switches for you having to pay every like quarter or every half.
Yep.
That's shitty, but I get it.
Yeah, it was like $2 to play a game of NBA Jam because it was like 50 cents a quarter or something. It was insane.
There's one at my bar that said no. It's actually Blitz at my bar that's set to that. But it's such a pain. Like, who's actually going to play that?
I believe NBA Jam came out in 1983, though.
But is it a Super Nintendo release?
The NBA? Super Nintendo came out in '94. The arcade cabinet came out in '93. So I specifically asked on this one earlier too.
Okay, no, I'm good as long as I don't really. Yeah, it's not like the podcast goes for.
But thank you, because there's somebody pulling out their hair being like, Earthbound's not 1994 and NBA Jam is 93. Tournament edition, whatever. Has anybody of you ever had? Well, I don't know. Air Dog's girlfriend cheated on him with me in college. Air Dog is the kid character in the game.
Oh God!
So I found that out by reading the NBA Jam, the book, and finding out what Air Dog's real name, and I'm like, oh shit, oh no.
Oh God!
So
talking about
there's a little boy character in NBA Jam, because he's the son of one of the devs.
Okay.
And I went to college with him apparently, and his girlfriend. I found out later that she was dating this guy at the same time she was dating me.
Okay, then you were.
So
now I understand where you're going.
Yeah, so poor Air Dog. He's doing okay though. He seems to be successful.
All right, and Kyle Chibi.
All right, my next game. This is an early '94 release. I believe in the U.S. it was February of '94. Another game in my contender of probably a 10 out of 10. I love this game with all my heart. I loved it as a kid. I love it even more now. It's never degraded to me. It's just always a fun time. I love it so much. The Ninja Warriors for the Super Nintendo. Also, one of the odd examples of a video game remake. And a video game remake not actually made by the original developers. So, the Ninja Warriors by Taito was released in 1987 and was an arcade game with 3 screens. And it's okay. I love Taito, but Taito's had some misfires. And Ninja Warriors Taito is kind of mid. The soundtrack is amazing because it's Zuntata, and they always make bangers. But I don't know. Just Ninja Warriors Arcade is just kind of mid. I'd say get the arcade archives. Yeah, get the arcade archives release if you're interested, or try the Sega CD port out or the PC Engine port. I know there's a couple different ports for Ninja Warriors Taito. That's what I'm going to call it for the arcade version, the Taito version. So yeah, this is a remake done by an entirely different game dev. This was developed by Natsume at the time. I know now the developers left Natsume and made a different dev studio, Tengu Project. They've also done some really kick-ass remakes of their own games, but that's a whole other podcast.
They sure have.
Yeah. Yes.
Including this one.
Yes. Yeah. The Ninja Warriors for the Super Nintendo. This game's fucking fantastic. 10 out of 10. Such a satisfying beat-em-up. There's such a thing for me with beat-em-up and fighting games, but especially beat-em-ups. They always feel good beat-em-ups never stop feeling satisfying to me. It's just being this character and you just punch and kick this shit out of bad guys. I fucking love that so much. Out of shape, nerdy, disabled, transgender dude, and growing up as a young disabled girl. I wasn't paralyzed or anything, but just legally blind and everything, and never doing well in sports and shit. It just felt satisfying to kick this shit out of bad dudes and shit and bad guys. And this game feels so fucking satisfying. Beating the shit out of rows of enemies and just using all your moves, it feels so satisfying. You get a pretty decent selection of moves for a beat 'em up, especially for a single playing beat 'em up. You actually get a pretty decent selection of moves. You get a screen clearing special when your meter fills up. You get some extra moves with that meter. They're hidden. You have to find out about them if you like the manual, but they're pretty easy to figure out. The Ninja Warriors is excellent. I love the soundtrack for the Natsume Ninja Warriors for Super Nintendo. I think I actually even like it more than the Zuntata original, which I know blasphemy. I'm a big, huge fan of Hiroyuki Iwatsuki. Hiroyuki Iwatsuki's probably one of my favorite video game composers of all time. Not even lying. I of course love many of the big time famous favorites like Yuzo Koshiro, Koji Kondo, Nobuo Uematsu, Yoko Shimomura, and I love all those. They're all wonderful too, but I don't know, Hiroyuki Iwatsuki's made so many great soundtracks, and I find it kind of sad that I never see his stuff brought up in great game composers, and I don't know, I feel like he's just super underrated, and it's always bummed me out because I think he makes a lot of really good jams, just really catchy, good, he has some of the most, appropriate video game music for his games. All of it sounds very actiony, but catchy. It just sounds like it's perfect for, an action scene of, fighting a boss or a bad guy, or you're running along a hallway, or you're running across a screen, and, there's a sunset, and this awesome music's playing as you're about to fight some bad guys. And, yeah, Hiroyuki Iwatsuki just kills it. I know there's a few other composers who also composed for Natsume in that period of time that helped with the games like that, or Wild Guns, or the Power Rangers games for Super Nintendo, and those are all excellent as well. Actually, Wild Guns will be coming up for me. Sorry to spoil it. That's another game that came out in '94. Yeah, the Ninja Warriors by Natsume for the Super Nintendo. It came out February '94 in the U.S. I love this game with all my heart. It's a fucking masterpiece. I might actually podcast about the game myself in a future podcast for my show, the Unidentified Flying Obsession Podcast. But yeah, that's my turn. Thank you all so much.
Okay.
I love this game. I think it is absolutely fantastic. I think keeping it to one plane makes all of those different moves feel really important. Like you can like dash out of grapples with jet boosters. I mean, also just the aesthetic is so cool. Like you're robot ninjas.
The single plane makes a lot of the combat feel a lot more intense. Like it's just like it's so much more close encounters, and you're just like whoa, trying to dodge and trying to jump out of the way, and there's like baddies behind you, and they're about to strike you, and you can block, and you're trying to block their attacks, and you're trying to counter, and it's really intense. Like it feels like I'm surprised there's never been a movie of this game because like it feels very cinematic in a way, like a really great like martial arts movie.
Definitely look up the FMV intro to the I think Sega CD version of the first game, which is it's in English. It's like this film noir thing where someone's tracking this crime syndicate to a nightclub and then like recognizes that they play the first stage's theme and figures it out. It's so good.
Oddly enough, the band in that video is Zuntata themselves.
That would make sense. I also just want to mention real quick before we move on, in Japan, the original is called The Ninja Warriors. This is called The Ninja Warriors Again, and the Switch one is called The Ninja Warriors Once Again, and I just think that rules.
Also, fun fact, this is one of the first ROMs I ever played because it was on a website called qualityroms.com.
Oh man, if we ever do like a side podcast about like our experiences on like emulators or whatever, like I have all sorts of stories, but that's awesome. I oddly enough, I still remember the very first ROM I ever played through an emulator, so that brings back memories. Thank you, Mike.
I didn't play through it. I just started. I never beat this game. It's too hard for me.
But just that first experience you ever have of a thing like that, like I still have memories of mine. So thank you, Mike.
It was Tortilla Godzilla and Nacho something, or Nacho Godzilla and Tortilla something were their names that ran this website. They would hand collect ROMs that they would put on their website that they would.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Oh, and Daniel, what is the game you want to mention?
I'll bring out a big one here, or big two, depending on who you ask. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. This is
heavy hitter.
Yeah, I mean, just to explain the one or two thing, this was released in 2 volumes, both 1994, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, because they couldn't fit it on one cart, and the Sonic and Knuckles had a cartridge port on top of the cartridge, and you could put Sonic 3 there and get the whole game and enable the save system and enable these 3 characters in every zone. And they use that space. Like this feels like a full realization of everything they were going with Sonic 2, a game where they famously had to cut a lot of the more ambitious ideas. Here you have these absolutely enormous levels just packed with secrets and packed with weird gimmicks. Like, there are a lot of levels in this game I kind of don't like, but the levels I don't like make me love the game even more. And the best levels are just such a blast to play. This is a game I play regularly. I'm playing it right now. I find new things every time I play it. If you collect 14 Chaos Emeralds over the course of both games, you get another transformation. I assume Super Saiyan 2 was just a thing, and I assume the Cell Saga had just come out, because that is Supersonic's a total ripoff of that. The 3 characters play really differently. There are like level differences. They can get to different parts of it. The story is really interesting. Like there is so much character they convey and such complex plot ideas they convey without any dialogue. And you know, they introduce Knuckles, kind of the big new rival character who you eventually realize is just trying to protect like this super Chaos Emerald. And he eventually joins you, and you can play as him in Sonic and Knuckles, and it takes place after the main game, with him kind of cleaning up the area. It just feels so great to play. The music's amazing. A lot of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 tracks were written by Brad Buxter and Michael Jackson.
Yep.
I kind of secretly, because they say Jackson didn't like the Genesis sound chip, which is absurd to me. Like, this game is an absolute...
No, it's because Michael Jackson liked little kids and couldn't be associated with children.
Yeah, and it already came out that he had some issues. So.
Yeah.
That wasn't a controversy in 94, was it?
Yeah, it was.
That was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, he'd already done some trials.
Yeah, it already found out in 93. It happened.
I was not aware of that at 3 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people will still ignore it, even though
No, people do. I remember when he died. I worked at Mall America, and I remember there being like, "Oh man, Michael Jackson." I'm like, "You do remember he's a pedophile, right?"
Smooth Criminal's a good song, but
I was also very young at 94 and 93 myself, but the trial started in 93. At the same time, he also had a hit song in 93 because he did the cover song for what was that movie, Free Willy, and that was a big hit from him, and then he started going to trial for all this stuff.
But Knuckles is also, both of those games are on the Sonic Origins compilation.
That's cool.
They're not
That makes me
great
happy.
versions.
Okay.
They're fine. Yeah, they're okay.
At
I
least
recommend
they're
downloading the Angel Island Revisited mod and figuring that out if you have the ways. But if you don't, Origins, fine. This game is still so fun to play. I think it's the best Sonic game. I think it's one of the best games on the Genesis.
I wish M2 could have. Just quick nerd tangent.
Go for it.
I do wish M2 could have done the Sonic Origins release because M2 never fails, even when they do fall apart sometimes in some releases. Even those get fixed and they're perfect. But yeah, I sorry. Just please go on. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, this is a game you played too. Yeah, I could heap praise on this for a very long time. This is the oldest game I think that still feels
new
AAA and cinematic to me. I'm still really impressed with it, and it's
that fire beginning is so
this is my favorite Sonic game of all time. Straight up favorite Sonic game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, fucking one of the greatest combos of all time, and this is my favorite Sonic. This is everything I love about Sonic, and the character, the gameplay, the level design, the controls feel great. Everything about this game is top notch.
And it has a save system, and the save system lets you kind of just muck around in any level you want, keeping your emeralds. And that's really nice for people who, play this game habitually and want to jump to any level. I jumped to the start of Sonic and Knuckles here, which I think kind of has a weaker start. But
Mushroom Hill's not as good.
Yeah, and Flying Battery's fine. I like Sandopolis. I know that's a controversial opinion.
I love that song too. Probably my favorite Sonic music ever.
The music is incredible in Flying Battery. Yeah, this game is an absolute banger.
I have a game I want to mention. I forgot was 1994. Another one of the early ROMs that I got a hold of. Live from Squaresoft.
Oh yeah, nice.
A game that people didn't know existed until a couple years ago when it came over here.
We just did that on the RPG show.
Such a damn good game. I played it back then, and I didn't understand it. I did it once. I did actually for this podcast a while ago, but not enough people listened to it because it wasn't out yet. So it wasn't people were like, what the fuck is this? I'll never forget my dumbass being at a Babbage's in the 90s after FF Chronicles came out. I remember the guy being like, I really hope they put Secret of Mana on one of those collections. I'm like, they should put Live on the collection. I don't know why I'm telling this guy this. And he's just looking at me like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck are you talking about? And I'll never forget that because he didn't say anything. He just looked at me like, okay.
It's excellent. And I so totally agree with everything you're saying, Mike. Such a fantastic game. I played it long before it came out in the US because, emulators. I had such a blast with this game. I love all the characters. I love its uniqueness. It's such a cool idea for an RPG. And not only, it's such a cool idea for a video game, but it's even better for, an RPG. And it's a total blast. And also, fantastic soundtrack by the one and only Yoko Shimomura. Yoko Shimomura is amazing. I love her to bits. One of my very favorite video game composers. She composed so many of my Capcom favorites, and then she went on to Square Enix or Squaresoft and did even more bangers. So yeah, great game.
And I wanted to ask you, KG, did you ever play it back in the day or only with the Switch version?
I played the Switch version most recently. I didn't play back in the day, but the new version is gorgeous. The sprites are absolutely
It's on my
phenomenal.
Steam wish list. At some point, I'll buy it when I see enough sale. But I definitely want to, and I'm going to read it.
Probably one of the highest rated games we've had on the show, honestly.
Nice. It's a really good game. I'm glad people get to experience it finally. It's for a lot of people that never did.
This is a big one I still need to play.
You'll enjoy it, Dan.
On my Switch. I'm sure I will. Square was doing some cool stuff here.
Yeah, it was too bad that it never came. I was really sad it never came out. But now I just need Bahamut Lagoon. But I don't think that's 94.
Oh yeah, Bahamut Lagoon. I did play that. That game's gorgeous.
I like that game a lot.
Bahamut Lagoon. It was a little too much for me, but I played it when I was super young. I was super young, so I think as an adult in my 30s, I think I'd appreciate it a lot more now. Yeah.
And Vince, what's the next game you want to mention?
We are in April 1994, so we are slow moving through the year. But this is Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball.
Excellent.
It's my favorite baseball game. It's me and my dad played it a lot.
Oh man, my brother got this game for Super Nintendo when I was a kid, and he played a lot. I even played it a lot, and I don't even like baseball video games. But this game.
It's so good. It's that perfect mix of like arcade and simulation. Before, like, a lot of baseball games are too semi, but this one happens to hit that sweet spot in a way that no other Super Nintendo baseball game. Like, your base is loaded.
It's too arcadey and the physics aren't good. Like, this game really nails it. And also, like, ironically, a baseball game, an American/Japanese game, like a game famous in those two regions, ironically developed by a British game studio. Like, how weird! I love it.
Who made this?
I'm
looking it up.
Yeah, good idea. But I do remember. I'm pretty sure that British game studio.
I recall that too. While we're looking that up, I just remember that it also didn't have the MLBPA license, didn't have the Players Association license. Had the real teams, but not the players. Yeah. What was that, Kyle?
Except for like Ken Griffey, like he's in it.
It only had Ken Griffey, but my dad went through on like that old timey, like every letter, 26 characters, and renamed every character to who they really were by looking at the newspaper, because we didn't have the internet back then.
Oh, that's perfect.
There was a dad in my neighborhood who did that too, and he did it for all the kids on our block.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like Jay Zachary is definitely Kirby Puckett. My dad would like figure that out. It was like, yeah,
Cute.
Played it a lot. This is the only baseball game I've ever done a 162 game season. There's no simming in it. I just played 162 games of baseball all night.
Oh,
Baseball game I ever played. My friend had this. I didn't have any cool stories like that, but my friend had it, and he would bring it. He'd play it every so often. I remember I liked it. Never played it myself.
I have it on my phone, and I hook up a USB controller and an HDMI cable, and I bring it over to my dad's house and still play it with
hell
him.
yeah!
It's so good.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Aw.
So Software Creations made this. The developers of Clock.
Oh, that is not a good TV platformer.
I like Clock.
Excuse me.
I mostly like listening to Clock, but I like Clock.
That's true. I'm sorry. That's all in those kind of like Euro style, like Rampage and the December 1994 game.
It's ungodly hard. Like, it's a good game. There are good European platformers. I promise you, there are good ones.
I have a fondness for European platformers.
Yeah, same.
I also like that one Donkey Kong game has been mentioned and is not the most famous British platformer ever made.
No, you guys,
from 1994.
I think you guys are going to get me to finally play that Donkey Kong Game Boy 94 game. So after you guys
So
mention it,
good.
So
I hope so.
Do it.
It's a fucking great game. Also, Donkey Kong 94, one of my other favorite games, 10 out of 10. Easily in my top 10 video games of all time. It's not my top 5. There are others, but it's in my top 10. Great, fantastic game. But yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. Pro Baseball for Super Nintendo. I love this game myself. Just great sports game. I'm usually, for sports video games, not the biggest fan of baseball games, but honestly, one of the very best ones. It feels great. It has a nice combination of arcadey, simple gameplay with like sim stuff, and nothing ever feels too overwhelming. It's just perfect light gameplay. Good stuff.
I love it.
all right, and KG, what's a game you want to mention?
Boy, I'm going to jump back in with one. I'm going to talk about The Lion King.
Yeah!
Lion King fans, let's go.
Yeah!
Man, those games were so good back in the day when you were 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Like all of those, the Aladdins, but Lion King's the one that was in 94. It was fantastic. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like the first couple of levels were great. It was way harder than it had any mean to be. And if I remember correctly, I believe the only way to beat the game was to use a move that was only mentioned in the manual and never once shown to you in the actual gameplay.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
I did
Why?
it by accident.
Why would you do that to an 8-year-old me?
Then.
But just such a good time. I mean, I don't know, Lion King's like one of my top Disney movies. My 2-year-old son, that's his favorite Disney movie right now. So whenever I have it on, it's like, man, I played the crap out of that game. I should go back. It's so good.
It's really good. I covered it with Mike on the podcast.
Oh yeah, we did a mini on it a while ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and I finished it without save states for the first time, and I beat it like 5 more times because I just really loved playing it. This is the first video game I ever played.
Wow.
I think it's really good. The way they There are so many neat scenarios and cool puzzles. The way they introduce a combat system in the second half of the game, which is a little obscure, but I enjoy obscure things. I enjoy finding out, oh wait, how'd I do that? The throw's weird too. You have to like roll your finger over the buttons, like from B to C.
Oh, sorry. Just not to interrupt, but I want to warn all of the people listening who have kids in their lives or have their own kids, or you have kids in their family. If you're gonna introduce this game to them, just be careful because this is a really hard game. Like, not even just for a kids game, but a hard game in general. So please be careful. Like, just just be careful with introducing this game. It's really tough.
I probably didn't beat it until I was maybe 16, but funnily enough, all my cousins, like 6 different households of different cousins on my mom and dad's side, they all had this game. So it was the one thing we all had in common, and none of us could beat it.
No, I mean, I can't get past. I just can't wait to be king. That's too hard.
Yeah,
it's one of the best-selling games of its time. That level, I just can't wait to be king. They added extra monkey puzzles and like took out some of the like iconography for the auto scroller sections at Disney's request. They made it harder because people were getting too far too quickly on rentals.
Beating it before the rental was over.
I do think this is a game you can learn. I think it's definitely a 16-bit platformer, and those are hard. And I certainly didn't beat it as a kid, but I do think it's doable. Yeah, really, really good game.
All right, and Chibi Kyle.
All right, so let's see here. We're still. I know. I apologize for this. For the length of this episode, episode might end up being because, like, I'm sorry, y'all. This year was just too fucking incredible for video games. Like, there's just so many to pick from. Oh my god. But to give another one, let's see here. This is going to be... Actually, I think this is my first game from them in the list. Gonna be from Capcom. And once again, I do love the fighting games. Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
I love the Darkstalkers games. So sad that Capcom has never made, like, a barrage of sequels for this series, like they have with other series. Because, like, it's a great series. Like, the fighting game mechanics are excellent. They're fast. It's a lot of fun. It's energetic. Great characters. I mean, come on. What the fuck? It's a Japanese anime portrayal of the classic Universal monsters. Like, how is that not fucking incredible? How is that not like peanut butter and chocolate? Like, that's such a great idea, and it's a great combo, and Capcom, it absolutely nails it. All the Darkstalkers games are excellent. It only had 3 games, but it did have a couple of upgraded versions. Upgraded games as well that are technically, they're kind of sequels, but yeah, they're all excellent. I believe they're pretty decently available. They had home ports, especially if you're gonna play them on the older consoles, folks. Get the Saturn ports because the PlayStation sucked with 2D stuff a lot of the times, especially arcade ports. Get the Saturn versions. I know some of them also came out on like Dreamcast and PSP and the PlayStation 2 collection that only came out in Japan. God fucking damn it, Capcom, why? But yeah. The Darkstalkers games are excellent. I love this series so much. Very fast, fluid, kinetic gameplay. It plays actually a lot differently than Street Fighter, and I think people who may not be into fighting games are like, oh, what's the difference? But, like, when you really start playing it and you see, like, people playing against each other, I think you'll really notice the difference. It's, man, Capcom, when they're firing from all cylinders, they are truly one of the greatest companies of all time, and it's just, fuck, I'm sorry, this series is too perfect. It's excellent. Another 10 out of 10 for me. Sorry, folks, 1994. Year of the absolute bangers in video games. But that's me again. Thank you so much. As always, next turn.
Yeah, all 5 Darkstalkers games are on the Capcom Fighting Collection, which came out, I think, last year.
Right!
So you can play them.
Thank you so much. And not only that, they also have, like, online gameplay, too.
They do, with rollback.
You get any of the console versions, Switch, PlayStation 5, I think Xbox. I'm not sure about Xbox. And PC, I believe it did officially come out on Steam as well, like whatever version you get.
PS4, I think.
PS4, I think, as well. Sorry. PS4 as well. You'll get online, and I'm pretty sure they have communities on there. And you can also get this on, like, Fightcade, so if you're a broke motherfucker like me, or, whatever, like, there are ways to play these games online and shit. There have been communities that have put the hard work into these to make them online and accessible. Play these games, even if you're not a fighting game fan. I know you'll find something to really enjoy about them. Darkstalkers is just great stuff. Thank you, Capcom. And
you will find matches on Fightcade. You will not find matches on that collection. It's a shame. It's a lovely collection. I'm really glad they put it out. I bought it just to support them and then play it on Fightcade.
Yeah, we support them. And Dan, what is the game you want to mention?
I think I'm actually going to just bring up 2 other Capcom fighters just because it was such a great year for them. And I was thinking of bringing it up along with Darkstalkers. So now's the time. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is basically the most recent version of Street Fighter 2. There's a Switch one, which is not great. There's the HD remix, which is good. There's Hype, but no one played it. And then there's Hyper Street Fighter 2.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, which is more a compilation. But this is the one people play.
This is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo might actually be the ultimate version of 2. I know there's a lot of, in the fandom for Street Fighter 2, there's a lot of infighting of like which is the best version, and that's a whole long podcast of itself. Man, this game is excellent. It's not on my list because I just, my heart went to Darkstalkers, but this is such an important game. And yeah, this was a fucking hot seller and a hot deal in general in the arcade.
Yeah. This is my most played Capcom fighter, probably until Street Fighter 6. I just played it constantly with we actually played HD Remix, funnily enough. But I adore this game. It's the only game I won a match, the only fighting game I won a match in Tokyo. So it also holds that place in my heart. And the other is X-Men Children of the Atom, a game I've barely played and don't like, but it's where they kind of got the style of the versus games where you have like these weightless attacks that are meant to combo together. Very execution heavy, kind of like Ground Zero for the anime fighter, along with the first Guilty Gear, which was much later. Yeah, and that became Marvel Superheroes, and that became Marvel vs. Capcom, and you have all those versus games, or you used to. I guess you don't anymore.
No,
Children of the Atom. I don't love it, but Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I adore it. I'll play that game any day. And Akuma was just announced, so congratulations to Akuma, introduced in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
And Vincent, what about you?
So we are going to skip May because I think we're going to hold that for May 1994. Donkey Kong 94, we've already covered for June. Super Street Fighter 2, not Turbo, was the July game. I don't know if Super 2 Turbo ever came to a home version. Maybe on the PlayStation or something, but definitely not
on Super Nintendo, but later it did. Definitely on Saturn with online play.
So we are in August now with August 1994, Stunt Race FX, which is I like it a lot. I really liked it back in the day. I still like it. I'm not a big fan of Mode 7 racers. They're super flat. And this was the Super FX chip racing game, admittedly at like 15 frames per second, if that. But it's very bumpy. It's got tunnels. It's got cool things. It's got stunts, kind of like Tony Hawk, before Tony Hawk, playing 3D games with a D-pad. But it's a lot of fun for the time, especially in 1994. So Stunt Race FX, if you like Lightning McQueen, ka-chow, check out Stunt Race FX.
Cars movies are strange.
They are.
I don't like this game. I don't like the way it looks. Like I could never go back to this.
It is hard, and when you know like how they cheated, because it's only like a quarter of the screen is actually graphics, the rest of it is like the HUD because they can't fucking power it. And I think Stunt Race FX actually was harvested for Star Fox 2 Repro cartridges because it had the Super FX chip on it.
Oh, that makes sense.
That would make sense.
So it was that bad of a seller that you could get it cheap and then harvest it. Yeah. So good times.
This is the game I boot up on emulator.
Yeah.
When hurts my eyes. I can't even watch a video.
So she looks up at the screen and goes, "Yeah," and then looks back at her phone, and then I put something else on. It amuses me. This game is very hard to look at.
Oh, and I do got a quick game I want to mention. I didn't realize that I was going to mention. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse came out in 94.
Hell yeah.
I love that game so much. Like, my God, Capcom once again.
Yeah, it's a great game. I mean, it's really good beat 'em up. Also, this is a podcast.
There was another 1994 Capcom X-Men game.
This is like a platformer.
This is a platform beat 'em up.
The Super Nintendo.
Oh.
Yeah, there's also a Game Gear game of X-Men in 94, but I have no.
But it's not Capcom.
Yeah, Capcom. I got to play this.
It's really good. Mutant Apocalypse is really, really good. You can play a Psylocke, Wolverine, Beast, Cyclops, Gambit.
I did not expect to learn about so many games here. I played so many 1994 games, but there are so many more.
Mutant Apocalypse was how I did watch the cartoon when I was a kid, but Mutant Apocalypse was how I was introduced to Psylocke. Yeah, she's cool.
We'll go with that. And what about you, KG?
All right, so I'm going to group a couple together here because
Sure,
I don't need to go over all of them individually. But 3 games that started in '94 that became much, much more than when they were there. First, XCOM. XCOM's gotten pretty great in the last couple of years. I think it's one of the better strategy games that's out there these days. The original Warcraft came out in 1994. I believe we all know what that turned into. I played WoW for a lot of years. The original is still pretty fun. Not what it is today, but the
Warcraft.
roots came here. And then another one, Elder Scrolls, also started with Arena in 1994. Yeah, big year for a lot of games that, none of those are particularly amazing on their own, but what they all became is some of the bigger series we play still.
Warcraft 1 I really like. I
came in with Warcraft 2 and then bought like Warcraft 1 like in a Comp USA sale for like 9 cents.
Yep.
I was like, you get to keep stuff on your fucking roads and shit. I was like, nope, don't like this.
2's better.
Two and 3 are the ones I'll go back to, but 1's neat. Fun fact about Warcraft 1, I think they thought they had the Warhammer license until like a week before release, and they like half-heartedly stripped it all out, which is wild, and barely changed the name.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, that makes sense why they're orcs and everything too.
Yeah,
StarCraft is a very much Warhammer 40K also. So
it is, yes, heavily inspired. StarCraft's the one, the Blizzard RTS I actually go back to, but the Warcrafts are
never played it, and I need to knock that off my backlog.
Yeah, you can play Warcraft 2 for PS1 on this show.
No, thank you. I will play it on GOG with cheats.
You could play StarCraft for N64.
Yeah, or Command and
No,
Conquer
thank you.
too, also on PS1. You can play
The ideal way to play these.
I will play the PC version of StarCraft with cheat code, so I can't die and I can experience the game for the first time.
Very cool game.
All right, that brings back to Chibi Kyle.
Right? I feel like I might get not judgment from this, but just like really another one. But all right, my next entry, 1994. This started in 1994. This series. I love it quite a lot, and even like for some people, I feel like they liked it ironically, or like it's not, quote unquote to them it may have not aged well, but I think it's aged perfectly, especially as just a good game. Killer Instinct. So I'm one of those crazy. I'm one of those crazy people that think that not only is Killer Instinct a damn good game, a damn great game, in fact, but I think it's better than I think it did Mortal Kombat better than Mortal Kombat ever did Mortal Kombat. For one thing, Killer Instinct had much better controls and physics, like Killer Instinct was like, oh, we can do blood and stuff, but like we'll actually have good physics and a good fighting game engine and like good controls. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, there we go. Where Mortal Kombat was like, let's have shitty controls and like a stiff gameplay and just yeah, okay. And I'm sure people will like that because they're dumb. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, but like we'll get them in with lots of gore, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah. I love Killer Instinct, and the first one is damn great. Lots of fun characters. Just a really rock-solid fighting game. And I can't believe that of all companies to do this and make a rock-solid fighting game, it's fucking rare. Okay, I would never expect to make a good fighting game, but lo and behold, they did. And then Killer Instinct 2 was also really great. And then the fucking stupendous, absolutely perfect 10 out of 10 reboot done in 2012. Sorry.
Double Helix.
Double Helix.
Double Helix did that.
Yeah. Done by Double Helix. I love that game. I love that game dev. They also did that fantastic and extremely underrated Buffy the Vampire Slayer game for the original Xbox. That's another.
Oh, wow.
I know what you're talking about.
That's not where I would have gone for their credits. I would have gone for their Strider reboot, but sure.
Well, no, I'm.
Oh yeah, that was a game.
No, the Strider remake's awesome too. I love that Buffy game. I think it's extremely underrated and is an extremely satisfying and fun beat 'em up.
Watered out upon.
I was already a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they actually managed to make a good licensed game out of it, and I'm so happy that they did. But yeah, Double Helix, great games, and yeah, Killer Instinct is fantastic. The reboot is also fantastic, done by an entirely different dev studio than Rare, and they really handled the job perfectly. The fighting still feels fantastic, and the gameplay is great. You can still play this online on PC and Xbox. I know it's like always on sale on Steam sales, so yeah, if you have had a computer made in the past 15 years, the game will run perfectly. Killer Instinct, the reboot, is also, yeah, fantastic, and just the entire series. I love it bits, and I thank Rare for making it. Killer Instinct is my next game in this this list. Just another 10 out of 10 banger.
It's on Game Pass as well.
Yeah, and the Super Nintendo port just hit NSO.
Yep.
That's cool.
No Killer
cool.
Cuts soundtrack included, though. You don't get the CD.
No.
All right. And Dan, what about you?
So I'm going to bring up a PS1 launch title in Japan, Kingsfield. This is the first game.
Sure. Woo!
Yeah, this is the first game from Software. I don't think it's very good, but it's cool. It's you're walking around this extremely trap-filled dungeon. I think it is a graveyard in canon. It's like the graveyard for this around this castle called Verdite that's been haunted, and you're looking for this sword at the bottom of it. It runs at about 15 FPS.
It's rough around the edges, but it has its charm.
It definitely has its charm. And so much of what you see in the games from is still making, especially, the like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, that whole series started here. Like, you're meeting NPCs and they have these weird, like, ironic stories that you can track. There are different routes through all of these. You're kind of moving back and forth through this graveyard, finding ways to slowly uncover more of it. There's very strange, very clunky 3-dimensional combat. Yeah, Kingsfield. Very excited about 3D. Watch the intro cutscene, which is just this camera flying through this hallway lit with torches to see the Kingsfield logo, just the word Kingsfield in these giant 3D stone blocks. Great intro. Don't like this game. The Kingsfield 2 came out the next year. Huge improvement. Still one of the best FromSoft games. But it started here, and you could already see what is in the Souls games here. Like, they knew what they wanted to do and drilled in on it immediately. It has an English patch, so you can play it. Be careful it's not Kingsfield 2 if you're looking for Kingsfield 1. I mean, definitely play Kingsfield 2 because it's amazing. But Kingsfield 2 is called Kingsfield in the US. That is a different game.
Of course it is.
The game called Kingsfield 2 in the US is Kingsfield 3, which I also don't like very much. But yeah, Kingsfield, FromSoft.
All right.
Is that related to Nier, perhaps?
Nier is a spinoff of Drakengard.
Drakengard,
Yes,
okay.
too.
Which have 3 games.
I think it's kind of unclear if this is the same canon as like Demon Souls, Dark Souls. You can see the setting of Kingsfield 2 from somewhere in Bloodborne. A major character from the Kingsfield game shows up in Dark Souls. Like, they're kind of related, but they never confirm it.
Okay.
But yeah, you're thinking Drakengard. Very weird game. I'd like to play more of.
Okay. And Vince, what about you?
Okay, well, we are already in September 1998. We are with the port of Mortal Kombat 2 for Super Nintendo. And this one has blood, so it's already better than Mortal Kombat 1 for Super Nintendo, even though they've kind of lost the war to Sega because of that bullshit. But I like Mortal Kombat 2 a lot. Kyle, I know you've been kind of shitting on it, but I like stupid games. And so I really like it. I think it's a good glow up from Mortal Kombat 1. I think the costume designs are better. I think like Raiden and like Liu Kang get better costumes than like their first game. There's blood in it. There's more moves. Everybody gets more powers. It's just I think it's a good sequel. It's everything you wanted from Mortal Kombat 1, but a little better. So I like Mortal Kombat 2. I think that's my favorite of the original game.
The only thing that bummed me out about 2 is that they took out my girl Sonya. She was always like my favorite. Her and Sub-Zero were like my favorites, and
that's because she's chained up in the background.
I don't like that. No.
Bullshit. Whatever. They took her out of Mortal Kombat 1, my game of the year last year, but I still use her as a cameo character all the time.
Oh,
in the DLC.
I did not know what game you were talking about until you said last year.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat ONE.
Yeah. Owen. Yeah.
I mean, Mortal Kombat's got to start back at 1. They're a Brian McKnight kind of thing, you know. Whenever they got to start back at 1.
That's a deep cut for the 90s. All right.
God, wow.
I mean, with MK9, they repeated steps 1 through 3, and then they made you fall in love with them.
They did.
Oh yeah, and that game was just called Mortal Kombat, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. I love Mortal Kombat 9, but that's awful.
I hate the fact that I cannot buy it on Steam.
Yeah, that's.
They took it on PC. That fucking sucks. Get to.
I have copies of it.
It works on Xbox Series X if you buy a disc of it.
I have multiple discs of it. I just want to play it on my Steam Deck.
Yeah, I know.
That's all.
Sonya's not an MK2?
No, yes,
she's chained up in the background, and so is Kano because they were.
Shit.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't know why they're not in the game.
I mean, I like
Reptiles in
Melina
the
and
game.
Katana, but she's not Sonya.
I never got into Katana or Melina. I never got their moves. Like that always bummed me out because it was like I always got Sonya's moves down, and I always really liked her, and it just I don't know, it bummed me out with 2. Like I know it's a better game technically, but it's just like but Sonya's not there. Now I'm sad.
Yeah, that's legit. I feel you there.
I have only played against the AI in this game, so yeah, I haven't really played it at all.
So, combat is that the AI is like cheap as shit. Where like most other fighting games, people say like, "Oh, but the AI in all fighting games cheap." Like, no, it's not. Like,
No,
but in Mortal Kombat,
Not like Mortal Kombat.
It reads your controller.
fuck.
Yeah, and you can tell. You can
Yeah.
tell.
It literally does the counters to exactly as you press.
Fucking my brothers and I came up with a strategy. Like, I think we found it through like a magazine, and we stuck by it. Where what we would do with the console versions that we'd rent, what we do with those sequels is we jump backwards and then jump forward, kick. Jump backwards, jump forward, kick.
Because you confuse it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the thing with playing fighting games in single player from this era. Like the way you win is by finding out what the AI is not programmed to punish, and nothing else. But that's not really a problem with Mortal Kombat 2.
But you fight Shao
I mean,
Kahn,
it
that
is,
fight.
that's not the way it's meant to be played.
Oh, I know. Right, and KG.
All right. Getting low on my list, but I still got some good ones. I'm gonna say Kirby's Dream Course.
Ooh!
Love this game. Mini golf with Kirby, and then you can change powers. Are you shitting me? Just like give me 27 courses of that, and I would still play it to this day. Like you could give me a new course every month, and I would pay for it straight up.
That would be a great fucking mobile game.
I
That would
Right.
be your mobile strategy.
I'm a huge Kirby fanatic, but I don't know, this might sound a little sacrilege. There's actually Kirby spin-off games that I think I love more than the actual Kirby platformers. I love
Me-
platformers.
Dream
No,
Course
that's
is my
absolutely
favorite
100%.
Kirby game, and I love Superstar, but Dream Course I will still play whenever.
Dream Course hits my same thing that like every golf game does, where this is fucking bullshit. But, that means it's a good golf
hard.
game. So
So hard.
It's so hard, but so satisfying.
Yes.
When you finally get that hole in one on every
Yeah.
hole,
Oh,
every
fuck, you can do
course,
that?
like-
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, every single one.
It's a lot of practice. A lot of just
It
like
is.
you run through the courses a bunch of times. You got to memorize it. Like,
A lot of practice, a lot of routing. Really cool game.
Okay. And Chibi Kyle.
okay, let's see here. So, been a little around the block this year, and I've gone through a couple of different franchises. Let's see here. Sorry, I don't mean to spoil it for anybody else, but I just wanted to ask. I just wanted to make sure I'm following along. But has anybody talked about Super Metroid yet?
We are at the end.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
that's
Save
a
that
big
for the
game at the end, May 1994.
Okay, yeah, I know. Bit of a funky schedule. But, okay, well, then I'm actually going with a separate one. This is another kind of an underrated gem. I don't know if that many people knew about it maybe at the time. I think it's gotten a lot more notoriety now because, like, the internet and, like, internet review people on YouTube and just game critics in general. From Capcom, and this is, oddly enough, another weird game because it's a spin-off, Demon's Crest for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good game.
I love this game. I think it's very beautiful. Like the graphics are just gorgeous. I think it has a perfect, cool gothic setting. I don't know what it is with 1994, but there are a lot of really cool gothic things in that, specifically 1994. I don't know what it was. Like I feel like 94 might have unintentionally been like the year of the goth or something. But
Yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula just turned everybody.
yeah,
They made,
What a good movie.
Sandman.
There were a lot of
What a good
D&D
movie.
games with
It's 90
Menzo Bears on too at that
It's
time.
92.
that was 92. So 92, 93, 94. That was a lot of goth shit getting noticed. And
Interview with the Vampires 94 also? Yeah.
I
Pro was 94. I think.
Yeah.
95.
Hell yeah.
and
Time.
Interview was 94 and Bram Stoker's Dracula was 92, and yeah, just I think those 3 years, just a lot of goth stuff really came into the mainstream and this got noticed. And also The Crow. The Crow was 1994, and that's another just like I don't know if people would consider that goth, but I do. I
Oh, it's
consider
goth. No question.
It's,
Come back from the dead.
yeah, just get goth shit and yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, Demon's Crest. I love this damn game so much. I'm gonna say it's actually not a 10 out of 10 because of some technical faults in the gameplay. I feel like Capcom really worked, did the best they could with this game. There's a couple technical things with like some of the pacing, there's some, not pacing issues, but just like, there's some difficulty mechanics in this game that are a little out of whack. Like, some bosses are so tough, but like, if you cheat them, it'll be easier, but just, I don't know, there's just like, there's some faults in this game, but I still think it's fantastic. Capcom did such a great job with this game. It looks so beautiful and gorgeous and gothic and dark, and just, like, the soundtrack to it is great. Every Halloween, I have to listen to the Demon's Crest soundtrack. Just a lot of really cool, creepy, just moody, like, downturn music. It's so effective, and it, like, every time I listen to the soundtrack to Demon's Crest, I just think of, like, Halloween night and pumpkins all over the place and jack-o'-lanterns and candlelit rooms and just, oh man. Yeah, Demon's Crest. I love this game. And I love the series that came out of Demon's Crest, the Gargoyles Quest games. I love the Game Boy game, the NES sequel, Gargoyles Quest 2, and yeah, finally Demon's Crest for Super Nintendo. I think they're a great series. I wish Capcom would make another one or make a collection. I really think, as much as I like the Ghosts and Goblins games and the Ghouls and Ghosts series, I might actually like the spin-offs a little bit more than the original games. I think they're all bangers, and I wish Capcom would just do something with the series again. I missed Red Armor, or I miss Red Armor. I wish he would do another Kick-Ass game, because he deserves to have another Kick-Ass game. It's been way too long, and Capcom just really nailed it with this game. Just such a beautiful, awesome gothic game, and that's my turn.
So Dan.
So I'm going to go with Freddy Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds.
Nice. I was trying to find some of these.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. This was by Humongous Entertainment. So this is an kind of edutainment adventure game, point and click adventure game with like gorgeous hand drawn art that really goes for that Saturday morning cartoon style. And it's done by Humongous Entertainment. Was founded by Ron Gilbert, who designed the Monkey Island games, or the first two and the last one at least. And he left to make adventure games for kids and made some of the absolute best out there. I was a Pajama Sam kid. A lot of the cool kids liked Spy Fox, but Freddy Fish was the first one. I went back and played this when they all got dumped on Steam. Very cool game. Very cool thing for Ron Gilbert to do. Just like he canonized what adventure games were. And it's like, okay, well, let's make the best edutainment ever. And I guess in that same realm, Math Blaster.
I like that one.
Yeah, Math Blaster, they had in my school, speaking of edutainment, there was Oregon Trail and that, and Math Blaster, you were in space and you were shooting multiplication tables. I taught myself multiplication, what multiplication was with Math Blaster. Because I went to the higher difficulties.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, I just played in the computer lab.
Just to add it in quick for the edutainment, we also had Treasure Galaxy and Yukon Trail this year. And
Yukon Trail was this year?
yes, it was. I love Yukon Trail.
I had that one as well.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I know Treasure Cove was a game, I think. I don't think it's this.
They had Treasure Mountain, Treasure Cove, Treasure Math Storm, and Treasure Galaxy.
Okay, I never played Treasure Galaxy, but I had Treasure Cove and Treasure Mountain as a kid.
Yep.
I didn't have a computer to play them. I used to go to my mother's work, and I installed them on little not flash drives, 3-inch floppies. That's neither here nor there. All right. Well, that brings us back to Vince.
Yeah, so we are now in October 1994, and it is Illusion of Gaia, not Final Fantasy.
I got it.
Yeah, you covered that for games my mom found. I've also been on the other sides of the trilogy, Soul Blazer and Terra Enigma, which are fine, but not as good as Illusion of Gaia.
It's the best one by a
So
lot.
good. I mean, it's a fun action RPG from Enix. It's a little weird. It's very linear, but it's a lot of fun. It's got a good story. It blew my mind at the time to have like 3 different playable characters you could transform in between with different move sets. A kind of across the real world where you like go to Incan ruins and shit. It's fun. I like it a lot. I still like it. I remember listening to your episode, Mike, and being like, y'all are wrong. This game is fucking great. But
Did I complain about it?
No, your panelists did. I hope Daniel and Kyle aren't the panelists.
They were not.
I wasn't.
I know one of them was, and no, it was definitely not.
I will never disrespect Hamlet the pig and his sacrifice.
Yeah, so I think Nintendo published it. Also, I definitely came also with an Illusion of Gaia t-shirt that I wore for a long time. And I got it for $20 on sale at Best Buy. I was very excited. It's just a fun game. And that's your October 94 game instead of Final Fantasy VI. Slash.
Weird they would go with that. I mean, I do like both. I mean, I love
Nintendo
both
was
of them.
publishing it. They had the keys
That
to the
makes
kingdom.
sense.
Yeah, they published it
Propaganda.
worldwide. Enix published it in Japan. It was developed by Quintet.
Yeah, ActRaiser
Yep.
fame and that. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to play that ActRaiser remake. It looks real good.
It does.
I've been meaning to replay Illusion of Gaia for over
same.
a decade now. I played it on an emulator, and I've absolutely adored it. I still remember the scenarios from that game because some wild shit happens in that game.
So good. Yeah, it's a great game.
Okay. And KG.
Boy, I am going to go with, actually, these are released on the same day, but I was only going to mention one. I'll mention them both.
Sure.
Super Star Wars Return of the Jedi and Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love the Super Star Wars games. I will say about this one, though, I could never beat the final level because I didn't understand how to. You have to escape the Death Star in the Millennium Falcon as it's blowing up, and I don't know if they didn't tell me what button I was supposed to press, but I don't think I've ever actually beaten this game.
It's hard as hell.
Weird.
Yeah,
Beat it once.
all of them.
I'll
all
give you
of them
credit. I
are.
think you got far enough. I think you
Yeah.
beat it.
Every single one of the Super Star Wars games are just wildly difficult.
They're filled with a
absurd.
lot of bullshit,
Mhm.
but boy howdy, they are pretty and fun to play.
You can.
Are.
I beat the first one, but I beat it with save states on a keyboard. 'Cause I didn't have a controller, and I remember as a kid sitting there, I mapped it on my keyboard and played it that way with save states and saved like every second, and I was able to beat that first game.
Yeah.
I beat the
I only
first
had
game
Empire.
legitimate once.
Super Empire.
Yeah, I only had Super Empire, and I don't think I ever got past the second level. I definitely never got off Hoth.
It's hard as fuck.
I always wish that they would have made like super versions of the prequel trilogy in that
That
same
would be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
That would be a great throwback thing to do.
Did you even think about the Indiana Jones game? Did you play that back then?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah, I played a little bit of that too. I just thought it was really cool that they both came out at the same time.
That is
honestly.
cool.
Like that was
Is
a
that
wild day.
Is it
Were
also
they
in
the
the same
same kinda-
style as those games?
yes.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
It's all three movies. I've never gotten very far. It's hard.
Is it
was hard.
Factor 5 or am I misremembering?
No idea. and I don't want to look it up.
It is Factor 5. You are correct.
So they made like Rogue Squadron later and like Turrican, I think at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, Factor 5 and LucasArts.
Turrican?
You got to shoot them up there. You shoot them up fans' attention real fast.
I still haven't
But yeah,
mentioned the one shooter on my list. See if I get to it.
All right, and Chibi Kyle.
Well, another arcade classic, once again developed by Sega. I'll give you all a hint of what this is.
Sonic Fighters.
Do 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 do.
Oh, that was this year.
Daytona, let's go away. Daytona. Yes, it's Daytona, USA. Released in 1984. I love this game. It's a kick-ass game. Its ports were all pretty great. Even I know the first port on Saturn's a little botched, but even it's still really impressive and it plays well. It got a better port later on. It got a Dreamcast port. The Daytona USA games are so fun. They're just really fun, solid, rock solid racing games. Just good stuff and a great soundtrack. I forgot the name of the singer for the Daytona USA game, but that guy's amazing. He has such
I'll look it
great
up.
vocal talent. Just a great singer. He puts all of his heart in his songs. He's amazing.
Takunobu Mitsuyoshi.
Takunobu Mitsuyoshi, great singer. Just a great soundtrack to Daytona USA. Just a total banger of an excellent racing game. Man, Sega, once again, just another excellent game.
This was directed by Toshihiro Nagoshi, who later did Super Monkey Ball and Yakuza.
Oh yeah, nice.
And Binary Domain.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the first ones. I am really bad at this game, but it feels really good. I think I've pulled off maybe 1% of the drifts I've tried to do in this game, but they're some of the best I've felt in a video game. Just squeaking through the turn without losing speed and rocketing forward. It's so good. This game is so good. And I still see it in arcades.
That makes me happy when stuff is still like that. And Dan, what about you?
I'll hold off on my shooter until the next round because I want to mention two Konami games, Contra Hardcore and Castlevania Bloodlines.
Oh yeah.
Thank you on one of them.
Great games. Fun
Yeah.
fact, Castlevania Bloodlines is my favorite classic Castlevania. Ironically, on a console I technically didn't grow up with, and it's my favorite classic Castlevania.
I mean, it is
Cool.
one of the best, or is the best. Yeah, so that's all right.
It's a weird one.
Mhm.
I think the movement tech's really cool. They have some of that Super Castlevania 4 physics, but without any of the slowdown because it's the Genesis. Lots of weird transparency effects. They were just going wild. I like Rondo a bit more. That's my favorite of the 16-bit Castlevanias, but this one is up there. But I do think Contra Hardcore is my favorite Contra game. It just goes so hard. It has like 4 different characters, and all of their weapons work differently from each other. It has branching paths, and it is so fast and so hard and so wild. Like you start the game by like bursting through a bunch of traffic in a tank and jumping out, and you're immediately shooting guys. You go through like the floating platform, railing platforming section from Contra 3, and then the last one malfunctions and like starts skidding into the ground, and sparks are flying up as you go to the boss. These games are so cool. They're so cool.
For those who want to play this game, but like if the American version's like too tough for you, just a heads up. Play the Japanese version. It has an English fan translation, and there's hacks for it. The Japanese version gives you 3 hits before you die. The American version is 1-hit death.
And it's definitely designed around those 3 hits. They're like
baby.
Yeah, you'll get some cheaper shots from bosses. It's much longer than most of the other Contra games.
Yeah.
Just I think it is definitely doable with the 1 hit point.
It's a real bang for your buck game. Like they really crammed so much into this. Contra Hardcore is so damn good. I don't know if I can pick a favorite Contra. Like they're just all really
honestly, this Shattered Soldier 3 and 4 are all like tied for one.
And like NES Contra and NES Super C like are both great. Like the old Contra games I can say I actually don't like are oddly enough the arcade originals of
they're not amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. They've aged really weirdly. It's kind of odd, but yeah, those NES ports, they're excellent. Those are fantastic.
Contra Force isn't a Contra game, but it's also
it's a weird game.
Operation C on the Game Boy is good. Also,
I like that one too.
Yesterday, as of this recording, a new Contra game came out, and it's good.
Wait,
Yeah,
I've heard mixed things, but I'm glad it.
Yeah.
What I played, I've liked quite a bit.
I trust your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Operation Galuga just came out, so Contra's back enough.
Okay. And Vince.
We are in November 1994, so we're nearing the end, but we got Donkey Kong Country.
Yes!
Nintendo does what
finally.
Seg don't.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I know time has not been kind to this game. I still think the art design is really, really good. I like the way the worlds are designed. I like Donkey and Diddy. It's a fun platformer. It's a little repetitive. The barrel fighting is a little bullshit. The barrel jumping is a little bullshit. But it's a really, really good relaunch year for Donkey Kong between DK54 and Donkey Kong Country. And it like graphically, it's very impressive. It helps wins the console wars. Go Nintendo, fuck Sega, boo. And so it's a lot of fun. I still like it a lot.
Hey, you know who won the console wars? We did.
Yeah, we did, because
Like,
we got to play all these great games.
Yeah, like 3 of the best consoles ever made in that 16-bit era.
And Donkey Kong Country is such a weird game, because, like, I think from the graphic point of view, it may not look like it's aged that well, but, like, the actual, like, game and gameplay of it is still excellent. Like, it's still a rock-solid, fun-as-hell platformer. Like, it's one of the very best in platformer history, and even to this day, it's still damn great. Like, if you want a good example of Euro platformers, this is probably the golden staple. Like this is.
I wouldn't describe it as a Euro platform because Euro platforms are mine where they're like. I mean, no, it's
Japanese
European
style.
made, but yeah.
It technically it should count though because it is a Euro developed platformer and it's damn great at what it does too. Really well developed, great physics. Donkey and Diddy play differently while at the same time. They still both feel like good, and just Donkey Kong Country, just a rock solid ass game. Possibly another 10 out of 10. I know the graphics might dock some points for some people, but like if you just get into the game, like I promise you, you'll have a banger time. Like play it with a friend, play it by yourself. But it's such a fun, solid platformer. Just
If you play it with a CRT filter, I think the graphics actually look okay.
Yeah.
And I
don't
do think
mind it.
there's a decent amount of that like British platformer cruelty to it. I think there's definitely some British spirit.
It's all nice.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking more of like where the camera's like stuck to your character rather than like the area, and then like the areas are way too fucking vertical.
I'm gonna bring up that fact of Euro platformers. Like, this game's a lot nicer than most other platformers. Like, the
It is
rare.
certainly a lot nicer than Donkey Kong Country 2.
Oh no! Like, Donkey Kong
game's
Country
hard.
is just holy shit. Like, that's a hard game. But yeah, DKC 1, man, just damn fucking rock solid.
Music
gameplay.
is great too. The DK Jams from the Nintendo Power magazine. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep,
Amazing. David Wise, right?
Yep.
I believe so. Yes.
One of the best video game soundtracks, full stop.
Rare really killed it with this game. What a damn good debut.
Okay. And what about you, KG?
All right, I think the last one I've got on my list, I'm going to throw out Earthworm Jim.
Ooh,
Really fun, kind of off, humorish game. When I was this young, I remember renting it, not in 94, but a couple of years later. I'd always get an Adam Sandler movie or a Chris Farley movie and Earthworm Jim and just have a great Friday night. Like, that was what I did.
Yeah.
The 90s right there.
That
Exactly.
the cartoon's really good with Homer as the character. Dan Castellaneta.
yeah, Dan Castellaneta.
That's the December '94 game, so I'm down with Nintendo Power games. It's made by a transphobe, and he keeps fucking talking. So
Fuck Doug Tanape. He's a piece of shit. Don't listen to him. Just fuck everything he says. He's a piece of shit.
he's the reason there's no Earthworm Jim remakes being made because he can't.
Hey, that game is coming on what the hell was that system? That
The
wasn't real?
Amico. The
Yeah,
Amico
the-
Earthworm Jim 4 is definitely coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days.
Oh my
But
god.
like that game is, that's the kind of platformer that like Lion King. I'm like, this is hard for me to play, but it's fucking funny as shit. Like that Queen Slug for a butt, that's funny. And like riding the rockets and him whipping his head. The art design of it's great. I love it.
Cal launched.
Great style.
So I have to say it. Cal launched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and that comes back in the ending. Fantastic. Extremely joke. Really, really funny. The second game I rented from a Blockbuster, and that Blockbuster closed.
Oh,
So
Did you keep it?
I got to keep it.
Hell yeah.
hey, nice.
Yeah, I had two as a kid, and I got one later.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize that the creator's a piece of shit, though.
Okay, no,
I mean, it
yeah.
doesn't affect me like when it comes to playing the game, but I was like, well, that makes sense why I never got ported. So.
I'm especially heartbroken because, like, I'm a queer person and I'm a transgender person, but also I actually liked another Doug Tanaple thing that's not Earthworm Jim.
I just look at it as multiple people made it, not just one piece of shit guy. So that's how I think you have to appreciate it sometimes. But no, I completely get it.
The thing is, like, I liked Earthworm Jim too, but like there was another thing that Doug Tanaple created that I actually really liked. Cat Scratch Fever, this cartoon. I really liked that show, and then after finding about Doug Tanaple and all his shit, I'm like, oh yeah, this fucking sucks. I hate it. Like, fuck you, Doug
Well,
Tanaple.
that's
Always a
fair.
bummer.
I mean,
that
I don't
happens.
get why people can't just like just accept. Like, who cares what people do? Like, why are you have to be an ass about? Like, just be happy that people exist. Like, thank you.
Exactly. You have to be a monster. You just have to fucking be soulless as possible. Just
I just don't get it, people. Like, but that's neither here nor. Okay, and Chibi Kyle. This is the last round, so if you want to do a couple lightning round games, that's fine.
I'll try a quick couple lightning rounds. I'll try to do, but I'll also say like my final game before we sign things off with the big granddaddy of 1994 games. Let's see here. Well, this might be cheating. I apologize because it is literally my favorite video game of all time. Yeah, I'll also put in Earthbound. I love Earthbound Mother 2. Fantastic game. Literally my favorite video game of all time. I love the fucking charm and graphics and soundtrack of this game. I think the graphics are super cute and charming as hell. I love the setting. Such a brilliant idea for an RPG, a classic Dragon Quest-y RPG, like set in like modern times. Like, okay, sure, and it's the 90s modern. Like, okay, sure, and
America.
Yeah, and like quote unquote America, and like you have an ATM card and you order pizza and you can get cheeseburgers and bags of
and you have a cult. That's America too.
Like the KKK, and you get cheeseburgers and French fries as health replenishables, and put them in your backpack, and you just all sorts of stuff, and it's so good. I love Earthbound so much. I love what it talks about with the power of friendship. I know that's so corny, like, oh, everyone, like, who fucking hasn't done that? But like, there's something specific about how Mother talks about friendship that is always made me cry in the end, and just like those Japanese commercials for Mother. No crying until the end, and I totally see it. The Mother series is such a beautiful series about going through the hardships in life, but still trying to smile throughout in your life, and being together with your friends, and getting through the hardships in life. And just trying your best to get through life. And it's, fighting the tough parts. And yeah, I think it's beautiful. And hell, I'm not even a big fan of like the Beatles. Like I like a lot of Beatles songs, but I'm not really the biggest fan. But like, if not for the Beatles, the Mother series would have never existed. And I am so thankful. And thank you, Shigesato Itoi. Thank you. But yeah, Earthbound, possibly my literally my favorite game of all time, 1994, and lightning round stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of other just great Capcom and Konami and Natsume and all sorts of smaller game devs from Japan and Europe that made so many classics. 1994, it's a banger year for video games. I don't know where to begin. Is. Incredible games. That's I'm sorry, I can't even think of any for a lightning round. There's just many. There's just too damn many. Too many video games. But yeah, that's me. Thank you.
All right, and Dan.
Yeah. So you asked for it, Mike. Rayforce.
Nice.
By Taito. I think this is one of my absolute favorite shooters. It is gorgeous. It has this central gimmick where there is a crosshair on screen that will lock on to enemies in the background. It can only lock on to enemies in the background, except for bosses. It can also lock on to bosses. And you can send lasers into the background and kind of camp enemy spawn. So only certain enemies will spawn because they're already dead. You get more points the more you've locked on. You can kind of target different body parts of bosses. Like there's one of the first bosses you can lock on with your laser, and once you do enough damage to a part, it'll kind of like do evasive maneuvers and fly into the background. And you can sort of, if you know how the homing lasers work, you can sort of juggle it and keep it in the background, and it opens up so many cool scoring opportunities. This game's absolutely gorgeous. Like, there's so many neat set pieces. In the second level, you like fly underground into the crust of this planet, and asteroid, sorry, and then you go out of the asteroid, and there are these two fleets fighting, and judging by the size of the sprites, if you lock onto the ones who are closer, you can get a bunch of extra points before the boss obliterates both armies with this laser, and then you're fighting it, and then the intro to the third level is you're like plummeting down into the planet with this huge contrail becoming this red hot flaming comet. Just one of the best looking video games ever made. One of the most mechanically unique shooters that doesn't feel like it fundamentally goes against any of those central Taito shmup ideas. It's one of my favorite Taito games. It's one of my favorite games. It just got a really nice M2 collection along with its two sequels, Ray Crisis and Ray Storm. I think I got those backwards. I think Ray Storm is the second one, PS1 era. Awesome game, and there's your arcade shmup, Mike.
Hey, I knew there'd be at least one.
Yeah. Are we doing lightning round picks now?
Yeah, sure. If you have any last quick things, then we're going to go to the last game.
Yeah, I have a few. I should have brought this up when we were talking about Virtua Fighter 2, but Tekken came out from one of the head designers of the original Virtua Fighter. Absolutely hideous game. I don't like it very much. Tekken 2 is amazing. Every other Tekken after one's amazing, but that series started. System Shock, War Inspector game, also got a really nice remake. Landmark immersive sim, still really cool to play, really cool movement. You get a lightsaber and a jetpack, and it's still scary. What else we got? Legend of Heroes 3, which is when Nihon Falcom kind of started their ridiculously interconnected RPG stories with like 10,000 words. And I believe, what's his name? Makoto Shinkai. His first job was doing an intro for one of the versions of Legend of Heroes 3. And now people are calling him the new Miyazaki. He's done
that's cool.
Yeah. Your Name, Children Who Chase Lost Voices, Weathering with You, Suzume, a couple years ago, adored Suzume.
Yeah.
Yep. He did the opening for the 1999 version of Legend of Heroes 3. So not this one, but a later one. Yeah, 94.
All right, and we'll go to our last game. I'll just introduce it. It's not my favorite, actually, at all. Super Metroid, but people love Super Metroid.
I get it.
Metroid.
I get it, too. I didn't love it as a kid, I didn't like it at all. I have played it for the show 2 times, and it wasn't until I played it for the show the second time that I appreciated it.
I had the same experience. I thought this game was okay when I first played it. I got to it after Fusion, and I liked Fusion a lot more. But every time I play this game, I appreciate it more. There's so many different routes you can go to. You can go through. Every puzzle has so many different solutions. The movement is so expressive and has such an enormous skill ceiling. Controlling Samus feels great. Feels like you are this incredibly fluid 10-ton being just flying through this planet. This is one of the games I just boot up and play because I want my hands to feel what it feels like to play this game. But I didn't like it until my third playthrough, and now it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Okay. Vince, are you a big fan of Super Metroid?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't really. So to be fair, I don't like Metroidvanias with shooting. I prefer them with like the Vania part with like
I'm
the
with you.
melee combat, and I like the leveling up a little more. This is probably the first game I ever emulated. My former roommate and best man emulated and put it on every single computer in our high school.
Nice.
So that was pretty awesome. So that was, we're talking about first emulated games. I played it then, and playing with like the keypad stuff was like really hard for me with the keyboard stuff. So I never really got into Super Metroid. It's fine. I bought it as part of like when Wii U was doing terrible and they were selling a bunch of games for 30 cents. I think I got that. I got Kirby's Dream Course. Got a lot of good games, and it's all right. It's fine. I like Zero Mission a lot more.
So I think Zero Mission is a direct sequel to Super. I consider it that more so than it is a remake of the first game. And its routing is like wide open. You can kind of go anywhere in Zero Mission at any time. If you know anything about the mechanics, it's so easy to just get anywhere you want to go. Well, sequence breaking in Super has all of these really elaborate ways you kind of need to push on those boundaries a bit before they break. And it feels like this really elaborate puzzle box that kind of teaches you how to get through it in one way, and along the way teaches you other ways through it. You can beat the bosses in any order. Like if you see a run of people doing Ridley first, it is definitely designed that way. Like the enemy spawners and the save points and the exact length of the rooms where you can, run through while you're burning to death. I think this game is fine on a first playthrough and revelatory on like a fifth. Which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I love it.
I get that. I also like, don't play this game 5 times, then it's really good. I'm like, that's a weird statement, but also I get what you're saying.
Yeah, Sam.
KG, do you have anything to say about Super Metroid?
Weirdly enough, I'm kind of in the same boat. I respect the absolute shit out of Super Metroid. I think it is a fantastic game. I'm just not a Metroidvania guy, really.
Okay.
Like, one of the better ones I've played recently, which is really weird to say, was actually Monster Sanctuary, which was a Pokemon Metroidvania.
Oh, yeah. Played that
Good
one.
game, I've heard.
But I like the platforming of Metroidvanias more than I like the shooting aspect, and I think that's what does it for me. Like, honestly, it's a great game. It is absolutely fantastic. I've played through it 3 or 4 times. I just don't pine for it, and I don't really go back for it these days.
That's fair.
Also, however, though, I am looking at this, it seems to be the best rated game by Electronic Gaming Monthly ever.
That's fair. I mean, it's
It's a good game.
I'm not the biggest fan of either, so I get it.
Neither was
I've got
Miyamoto.
more to it, but I'm still not the biggest fan.
This and Donkey Kong Country, Miyamoto just did not care for, which I think is fascinating.
And Chibi Cow, do you have anything you want to say about Super Metroid?
Oh, okay. I didn't know how this would turn out. I didn't know if you guys would all love it, or if you'd all find it mid, or y'all didn't like it. But shit. All right. Well, I'm probably gonna sound really old-fashioned, but I fucking love the shit out of this game. For a while, I almost found it was too perfect and would get kind of bored. But I really love this game. I think it's excellent. The game design's really fun. The gameplay is great. I think it's much better than the first 2 Metroids, where
Yes.
I think as much as I love those 2 early Metroids, I think this one's still like you can easily go back to this and have fun with it, where 1 and 2 you get lost so easily and it's just like, shit, I don't know what to do. Where Super Metroid's like, no, I get it. I love Super Metroid. I think it's great. I think the atmosphere is beautiful and fantastic and haunting. I actually had a tough time playing this as a little kid because I played a lot, but I don't know how to say this, but I actually would get really scared of this game. I found a lot of the soundtrack really scary as a kid. It's weird, weird.
No, that's
stuff.
not weird. It's there's a vibe,
Yeah.
the isolation, and
Yeah, okay. Okay.
What you're saying is very legit. Like, other people have had that experience. Also me.
The thing is, just for me, is that I had a lot of weird fears as a little kid because I used to be really afraid of dogs. I used to be afraid of oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Fair. I mean,
Yeah, when I was way younger though, I'm not anymore. But I used to have a pretty strong fear of thunderstorms because of they'd be loud and scary and shit, and just Like, the one thing I still have a fear of, and this is probably the weirdest one, because, like, I feel like most people just don't have this, or they never really found them scary. But so, fun fact about me, I actually have a crippling fear of butterflies. Not joking. Straight-faced as fuck. Yeah, that's my little hidden secret about me. But yeah, no, that's like, I found this game, like, very haunting as a little kid. Like, I loved renting it and playing it, but then, like, after a while, I'd be like, oh, now I'm actually really scared. I don't want to play it anymore. And, like, I gotta play something happy. Like, I'll put in Mario. That's happy. And then, like I had to just play something that was, like, happy and, like, happy music. Like, cool, yeah. And no scary anymore. And now happy. And, like, as a little kid, me, I'm just like, I loved playing Super Metroid. And it was like, oh, this is amazing. And, like, the gameplay's so fun. It's just, I love how big it is. But, like, it's, like, actually kind of really scary. And, like, after a while, yeah, I'd have to stop because I'm just like, okay, I'm too scared now. Like, I'm going to go save, and then I'm just going to play Mario or Mario Kart or something happy for a bit to get my spirits up. But yeah, I love Super Metroid. I see why so many people, like, love it so dearly and why it's their favorite. I don't know what my favorite Metroid is. That's a really tough question. There's a lot of fantastic Metroid games. And it started off like that subgenre of, like, Metroidvania. Like those two series, like, created such a huge subgenre. But yeah, I love Super Metroid. I think it's excellent. I need to play through it again, just for old time's sake. It's been a long time, but I do love it with all my heart. Great game, creepy atmosphere, great soundtrack, also creepy as hell as well. Like I don't know, like, man, Nintendo, I didn't realize so many of your devs were such fans of, like, horror movies, because, like, this is a great fitting tribute to, like, horror. Just great atmosphere, very spooky, very isolating. It's funny, too, because, like, we've had games in the Alien franchise, but, like, for a while, I almost felt like, oh, this is, like, a better Alien game than, like, most actual Alien video games. Like,
I still think that.
Although, like, there are actually some good Alien video games.
As a kid was Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, I could get that, yeah.
Yeah, I would leave the room whenever, like, my friend entered the castle area or got a game over.
No, I get that,
I was so afraid of it.
There's some unsettling moments in that game for us. Like, happy cartoony as Banjo-Kazooie is. There's some, like, really unsettling shit where I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. Can we stop that, please? Like stop it, game, please. Thank you.
I would play through Spiral Mountain over and over again.
Yeah. There you go. This is happy. Go back to happy, please.
Exactly. Give me my happy forest back.
Yes, exactly. Play the happy music, please. Play lots of it. Thank you.
Take me back to Zeb. Zebes? What do y'all say?
Zebus.
Zebus.
Zebus? Yeah. I thought that was... I used to, like, when I was, like, super little, like 5 or 4, I'd say ZBs, because, like, I was a dumb little kid, but, like, yeah, Zebus, I guess.
I've realized that I live so close to Texas, and we have a lot of Spanish that a lot of that ES sound probably just comes. It's Spanish to me. It's Zebus.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's probably what it is in Japanese, though.
Yeah,
that's true, because they pronounce every syllable. That's true.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's go to the last section of this show. For this, where we do our top 3 games, we'll say it quick.
Oh, okay.
And Vince, since this was your idea, I want you to go first.
My top 3 games are for this year is Donkey Kong 94.
Yes.
Number 1 with a bullet. Number 2, Mortal Kombat 2. Still love it. It's the lore one. And for me, and then number 3 is, I've already lost it, but Mega Man X.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah.
Great year for gaming.
All right, and KG.
Boy, tough one, because I could just put like 15 games for 3. I'm going to go Final Fantasy VI 1, Earthbound 2, and I think after talking about it, Kirby's Dream Course is going to hit 3 for me.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And Chibi Kyle.
Okay, man. Shit. Okay. Oh, man, there's so many to pick from. Like, once again, just what an absolute masterpiece of a year for video games. I'm actually going to do 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3. Hope that's okay. So number 3, man, I'm sorry, so many good games. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna focus. Okay, number 3 is gonna be Demon's Crest. I know it's like, whoa, what the hell? Demon's Crest, number 3.
Good choice.
Because great atmosphere. Once again, like games like Super Metroid and Demon's Crest, fucking incredible atmospheres. Great soundtrack, fun gameplay. I want the series to come back. Capcom, what the fuck do I have to do to get this series back? Please, I know some of the key people of the franchise of Ghouls and Ghosts have left, but I know you can still do these. Come on, you can still do these.
The new Ghouls and Ghosts is really good.
Yeah, that one for Switch and stuff. I know it's on other consoles, but it came out first on Switch. That was a really charming ass game. I loved it. Okay, number 2. This might seem like a shocker because I listed so many fighting games, but number 2 is gonna be the Ninja Warriors for Super Nintendo. Yeah, just one of my absolute favorite beat-em-ups of all time. A weird point in history where the people that remade the video game did a better job than the original devs. I'm sorry, Taito. I love you, Taito. I love you so much, but I'm sorry. Natsume did it better. Number 1, Earthbound. Mother 2. Yeah, my favorite video game of all time. I'm sorry. It's going to be number 1. Number 1 with the bullet.
Right.
Mother 2 Earthbound is such a masterpiece of a game. I love it. Smiles and tears. Pollyanna. That's, I believe in stars and miracles, and that's why I believe in you. Mother 2 Earthbound is a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Thank you, 1994. You gave birth to so many amazing things.
Okay. And Dan.
So I'm going to say number 3. I also like that 3-2-1 is Super Metroid. There's definitely a time where I would say that was my favorite game of all time, but there's 2 1994 games I like more. Number 2 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'm on Forbidden Palace right now. I've been playing it during this podcast. And number 1 is also Earthbound. Yeah, I love Earthbound. I played it through for the first time a few years ago, and it's a really special game. There's just so many things I could gush about in that game. I understand why you brought it up again.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that person.
It's really that good. It really is.
All right. And I'll go last. I'll go 3-2-1 also. Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
Game. Live a Live.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And
Hell yeah.
Final Fantasy VI. One of my favorite games of all time. So, yeah, those are my 3 for 1994.
Yeah, I can get that. I'm sorry. I don't think I really talked about it too much, but yeah, I love Final Fantasy VI. I'm sorry. Controversial thing. I don't like the gameplay of a lot of Final Fantasies, but I love and respect the series so much. I love and respect the franchise a lot, and I love the storylines they have and the characters, and but 6 is incredible. It had such an incredible, innovative storyline, especially for a Super Nintendo game. The characters are great, and I love the setting, very also actually kind of gothic and steampunk, and just I love the opening of the giant mech suits walking in the blizzard. That plays in my brain a lot. Just that blizzard, just with the mechanical robot suits and the characters, just holy crap, that's so good.
Amazing music too.
Yeah.
I hear Terra's theme whenever I think of that scene. It's just such an iconic moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And KG, where can people find you at?
So I'm still doing on the RPG show. I've had a couple episodes come out. We should be doing Final Fantasy Rebirth in the next month or so, I hope. Otherwise, I did do a guest spot on A Gamer Looks at 40 for Final Fantasy as well.
Nice, man. And he'll have it come out between multiple episodes because he probably cut it up a whole bunch.
Sure did.
I know how he does his work. I would not do what he does, but I know what he does. Yeah. And Vince.
You can find me at Some of My Friends Read Comics. It's a comic book podcast. Comes out every other week about classic comics like The Death of Gwen Stacy. Mike was on our episode where we covered the Super Metroid Nintendo Power comic.
How many years
Kismet.
ago was that? 3
or 4 years ago at this point. Thank you for showing up there. We've covered other video game adjacent things like the Legend of Zelda manga, as well as Dragon Ball. So, adjacent. But yeah, come check us out. Some of my friends read comics. My co-host Chris has been on a lot of your comic podcasts. For Sandman, yes.
It's actually coming out around the time you're hearing this. There's a Sandman
Excellent.
episode. Almost done. Almost done. 2 more. All right. And Chibi Cow, where can people find you at?
Okay, well, you can find me on a multitude of places. You can find me on Blue Sky let me just get my name up, at chibiufo.bsky.social. You can find me on there. I pretty much post almost a lot of the time on Blue Sky. I moved over from Twitter because Twitter's fucking just, But you can also find me on Twitter. I don't post that often on Twitter, but you can find me there, UFO_Canada. And you can also find me on Instagram where I post just random pictures of crap of my life and all sorts of things, my journey in life. You can find me at ChibiUFO on Instagram. And you can find my podcast, the Unidentified Flying Obsession Podcast, or the UFO Podcast. I actually just released an episode on March the 8th for Cynthia Rothrock's birthday. It was a big special episode of me and my friend Ollie just being total nerds and gushing about how awesome Cynthia Rothrock is. We talked about a couple of her movies, and we gushed like total nerds. Just, man, Cynthia Rothrock is awesome. And also her birthday's on International Women's Day, so that's just...
Hell yeah.
I love it. That's my latest episode. I have another episode in the works. I'm just thinking of the subject and just kind of double proofing it and just making sure I want to go with this, and gonna pick up my guest soon. But yeah, that's my podcast, the Unidentified Flying Obsession Podcast. You can find it on pretty much almost all your basic RSS feeds, your Spotify's, your Apple's, your podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Pretty much all your basic podcast stations. But yeah. And yeah, of course. And Mike, thank you so much for having me on this. I feel so honored, and I'm so happy to be here for 1994. What an incredible year for video games.
All right. And Dan, did you have anything to plug?
Yeah, so I am Snacko0 on Twitterx and Instagram. Don't post much on Twitter because it's a dumpster fire, but I sure did post a lot of Final Fantasy 16 screenshots I wanted to send in private messages. And on Instagram, I post a lot of pictures of my cat. So if you're into pictures of good cats, check it out. That's Snacko0 on Instagram. Might be doing some more stuff on there soon.
Okay.
But the cat pictures will not stop.
Nothing wrong with cat pictures.
Because he's a good boy.
Even though it's a cat, why I have extra editing to do because she closed the Skype on me somehow. But hey.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Oh no. She's
great.
mad. She's mad she didn't get a turn. She wanted to talk about her favorite
She's
video.
mad she didn't get treats. That's what she's mad about. It's treat time is expired.
I want to talk about my favorite video games in '94. God damn it.
She wasn't alive. She's only two. All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, over 600 other episodes of this podcast, you can find everything that we do on Podbean. We've done a few other year-end gaming, so you can just search that. You can search some of the games that we mentioned. Mega Man, Donkey Kong. Episodes will come up. Lots of Mega Man if you type that in. So definitely go check out our giant catalog. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. For a little dog, you vote in our Patreon poll. You'll see a link in the show notes to that. And please join our Discord. You'll see a link in the show notes to that. And everything that was just mentioned by these gentlemen, you will see for their podcast things. You'll see a link in the show notes. Definitely go support them. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hellhatsphere. You can follow her on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch. You will see a link to her link tree. Also check out A Gamer Looks at 40 with Bill Tucker, which we just mentioned earlier. He is back. He's been back now for like a month, a little over a month when you hear this, or 2 months. And please follow Nomads of Fantasy and the Nintendo Main Podcast, two other great shows that I listen to quite often and work with. So definitely go support them. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube. And please review us wherever you get your podcast. It helps out the algorithm. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mike.